Hi, everybody. It's Barbara Boshin from Co-Merchant. Co-Merchant is a relisting software for you to move your listings from Amazon to Walmart. And we also have Easy Key, which helps you automatically keyword your listings with just one click. Shakra Yandapali is not going to be with us. He normally is with us, but he's busy rushing around getting everything ready for his big move to Texas. He said, tonight I have Paul Rafelson on, and he is, I would say he's one of my favorite Amazon community lawyers. So one of the things that he has in his winning his checkmark list or his, hash on his belt is that he helped us get the sales tax off our backs and onto Amazon's backs, which was a huge win. But he offers so much more than that. He can help you with suspensions. He can help you, well, he can help you with suspension, he can help you with reinstatements. And he is just, he and his team are all around lawyers for everything that you need, setting up your businesses, all those kind of things. At the end of the night, I'm gonna ask him to give us a little review of his service called, it's Seller Basics, did I get that right?
Seller Basics, yep, sellerbasics.com, yep.
And so, hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and let's talk about selling businesses.
Yes, let's talk. It's such a happier subject in sales tax, right? Like, you know, people calling you up and it's like, yeah, like California's gonna destroy me. It's like such a depressing subject matter. It's so nice to like actually be on calls with people like, yes, I'm getting a lot of money for my business. This is so exciting. It's so much more fun and more engaging and
that's why people ask, can you help me get reinstated when we are like, that is one thing I never want to hear anybody.
We deal with it. I don't. My partner Jeff, we've got ex-seller performance people on it. Like we're handling it. Thankfully, I don't go near it. Like I try to tell clients, like once you log into Amazon, I'm out, man. Like I know a lot about Amazon. I deal with Amazon a lot, but like if it's like something like where you're logging in or something to do with like dealing with this Amazon team, like we've got people for that. Thankfully, I'm not one of them because I don't envy their work. They work hard. And but we can help people get suspended. That's right, Bar. We have very many. It's not a feature we've thought about offering, but I do like the clarifying that. But we can definitely
all the ways you can get suspended.
Yes.
So we get around them.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is a lot of
fun. As usual, if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll monitor that as Paul's answering my questions, and we'll put them in and. Need you to clarify if I don't quite, sometimes I don't quite get what you're asking.
Sure.
So there's been a lot, I mean, I know there's a company called Quiet Light and Thrasio. I've talked to a few of these guys or companies that buy Amazon businesses. They were at, I think before COVID, and we actually went out into the world and went to conferences and stuff. I made a point of talking to them, sort of my policy of 10% today for tomorrow. So I learned how to do Amazon better, but I'm always trying to figure out what the future holds. So what is going on? Like, why is there this sudden, I don't know, maybe not sudden interest, but it seems like a surge.
Yeah, you remember being at that conference? I think that was probably the last conference I attended, maybe one other before COVID, like in New York City. And I think you were there, and there was the Thrasio guy. Like, oh, what's that? It's like, well, yeah. So Thrasio is one of, I would say, many of these what we call aggregators, who are basically like kind of think about Amazon roll-up companies. They're very much out there basically buying up Amazon brands. They promise quick deals. Sometimes they say close in 60 days. We'll see. I mean, it's not always quite that quick, but sometimes it is. I mean, we've done some that are. And the payout is the payout. Is the multiple the best multiple you could ever get in the world? I don't know. I mean, they're not always the greatest, but they can be good. And because of the fact that Thrasio has been so successful, they're worth they've been $1 billion invested in the moment. They've certainly become known as sort of the leader, although there are others that are great as well. Goja being a perfect example. I think Goja is a great company. Has been around as long. I don't know if they've been around longer, but they used to be called 101 Commerce, or 101 Commerce was acquired by this, but they've been doing this for a long time too. But the success of that did not go unnoticed. And during a pandemic, when people have money and they don't know where to invest it, and they see e-commerce is doing so well,
Right.
you now have a
Like a lightning
situation.
rod.
Yeah. So over the last, year, it's been just an insane amount of private equity flowing into any person who says, I'm good at Amazon, or I've got this team of people who are good at Amazon. We're going to do what Thrasio does. And it's just spawned this like whole market where I don't know, it might be like to 100 right now. I mean, I was telling you, like, I had like a week where there was like every day I would get a letter of intent from a client, like, who is this? Who are you? Where are you? I'm like, I've never heard of your roll up. So yeah, you've got real, banks like Chase, JP Morgan investing, you've got private equity coming in. So there's an insatiable appetite for Amazon brands right now. They want your brands. This makes it a seller's market in this space. It's different than a traditional M&A brokered sort of, investment banker deal. So it's a really interesting time. So that's really been, sort of since the pandemic, like we got hit with a lot of price gouging cases. We went to court, we won our federal court case. And then, all of a sudden, like my M&A practice just like picked up. Like, we would do an occasional one here and there, but it's like all of a sudden it was just nonstop. It was like, that's all I was doing. It was M&A, you want to call it M&A. I come from a corporate world working with really big companies. So I mean, I sort of say it's kind of like baby M&A, but that's the point. And that's the appeal. Yeah. It's like baby M&A. Yeah, they're acquisitions, and they're very, they can be quick and they can be easy and relatively painless, but there's a lot of caveats too. So a lot of caution that I give about how that goes. But yeah, it's an interesting time. Could it be a bubble? Maybe. I don't know. Is that necessarily a bad thing if you sell at the peak of a bubble? No. That's what you want to do. But I definitely have concerns about like what, whether these companies have a well thought out business plan. Like I have no doubt Thrasio does. I have no doubt that Goja does, but there's so many of these fly by nights. I was quoted in the newspaper because I was sort of making a joke. I called them, there's all these faux Rastios out there that I don't know what they're going to be around much, longer, because they seem to think the business model is just, an economy of scale play, that, we have a crack team of people who know how to run Amazon brands. And so if we can buy up as many as we can gain efficiencies and we can grow the sales. I'll tell you one last interesting thing before I kind of give my overview. There was a lawsuit filed a few weeks ago. Thrasio sued another aggregator called Boosted Commerce. And Boosted is very well known, and I'm not making any judgments about what the lawsuit, as far as the merits. I'm not taking sides. I dealt with these companies. I'm not taking sides. But what's really fascinating about the lawsuit is when you read the complaint, why is Thrasio suing? They're saying one of the founders of Boosted was basically an original investor in Thrasio. They're saying that by being an original investor, he had access to Thrasio's proprietary pitch decks that explained their method for how they acquire and grow Amazon brands. They then took that information to start their own competitor, right? That's all they're saying. Whether there's a case there or not, whether those facts can be provable, whether there's something proprietary to what Thrasio is doing, I have no judgment on that. I'm not here to talk about that. But what's interesting is the way Thrasio describes what they're doing. They are basically they're almost like product category agnostic. They don't really care what you sell. You can be the 23rd best avocado slicer on Amazon, and you may still be interested in them. If you have, if your metrics meet their what they're looking for. If your sales are high, they really could care less. They're not, they're not concerned about
care if it's a toaster or a toothbrush or
they don't care. But what's fascinating is the way they describe their proprietary method. It's like, if you think about, like, you ever watch like a video of the General Motors assembly line where the car just moves along a track and, different people, that you get the window guy, you get the tire guy.
Somebody optimizes the listing, somebody optimizes the advertising, somebody optimizes the brand page.
Bingo. They run their every listing goes through the Thrasio system of improvement, and then out. I think they said 150% growth within 12 months, which I don't know. I mean, some of our clients get that anyway. like lately the market's been so great, but that's sort of their thing. It's like it's they can grow any brand. It not any, but almost any listing can be done taken through their system. So that's the model. So it's like, okay, if you go to an investor and say, hey, what if I took something profitable and made it 1.5 times more profitable a year? Would you give me money to do that? You know,
Right.
yes, here you go. I'm an investor, right? You know, it's
So they
and
keep,
so,
they don't turn around and sell these to somebody else. They keep them in a portfolio.
well, that's interesting. I was thinking about that today. I was talking to somebody. I was thinking, you know, I wonder if some of these smaller guys, that's all they're trying to do. If maybe what they do is they take certain ones and then they improve them. Maybe their next move is actually to then sell it at a higher, you know, either a higher multiple or just because the earnings are higher, they can sell it onward to like the bigger dogs, you know. So they get a piece on the way up. But no, yeah, no, Thrasio, I think their goal is to go, no, the goal is to go public. They want to be a publicly traded company. They've hired Casey Goss from that Viral Launch company. And Casey has said, I was on a Clubhouse thing listening in, and you know, he says, you know, our goal is to be, you know, we're trying to imagine what Procter and Gamble would be if they had started today, or they were the 21st century version of Procter and Gamble. So that's their model. I don't know. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But that's kind of what, you know, they're trying to say, that we're way more than just an economy of scale roll up play. There's more to us there's more substance to us than that. And you know, that we're sort of different from all these, you know, like I said, faux ratios that are out there. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but it's fascinating. But yeah, the market is crazy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure out. So we have brands, you know, in all stages of development. I would say your average Amazon seller does not have a massive brand. I would say definitely your average Amazon seller does not even have a brand. Most of them are resellers and RAs. But when you know, carve that out and you go into private label, lots of people have lots of products at varying degrees of success. Now, most of the people, and I don't know everyone, I'm sure there's people who have massive brands as well. But when I look at it, I'm like, they have they're usually like one-man shops or a couple people or something like that. They've gone and they've sourced something from China, or they've designed something and had it made. They're pretty good at sourcing. They're pretty good at everything. They're not probably great at anything, right? So I'm pretty good at optimize. I'm pretty good at doing.
I think you're more than pretty good, Barbara. I think you've proven.
I think I'm like, I would say I'm pretty good across the board, and maybe something's a little bit better, but I'm no expert at everything. So I'm thinking like, how big, or maybe better yet, so wherever I am, what are the steps I need to do to have a Thrasio say, besides like sell a lot? That's one thing. But do they want my account? Do they want me to have a trademark? Do they, like, what are the checklist items that I should have? You know, when they come, they say, oh, I see you own this and it's selling, you know, 600 units a month or something, or whatever. Like, what kind of metrics are they looking at? I mean, obviously it varies, but you know, what's the checklist?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I will say, you know, Thrasio's metrics appear to be more focused on much bigger companies, whereas when they, you know, when we first saw them in that New York City, you know, conference booth, and so I don't know if that was, you know, they were definitely more open. They seem to be more selective now, but there's like 99 other, or I should say like 98, because I don't consider Gojo copy yet, but there's quite a lot of copycats, not all of them, but quite a lot right now that are trying to do it. So if not them, you now have a whole host of companies you can go to, and they don't necessarily, you know, it's not like they have to come to you or that you need a broker. And I'm not saying, you know, you should or shouldn't use a broker. That's a different story. What I'm saying is they're actually saying, here's an open invitation to contact us. Like, if you're thinking about selling, like, come talk to us first, right? Like, we're ready to talk to you. What do you need? You need a trademark. You need a trademark. You need to have brand register. You know, you need to have a trademark. You need to have a brand. You got to have, you know, listings that you effectively, you know, we'll say own. Do they want your Amazon account? Most of them do. There are some that don't. This is a point of contention for me, because under the Amazon BSA, you actually cannot transfer your account to a non-affiliated third party. So you can transfer it. You can change your LLC because you're the owner of that subsequent LLC. That's a different story. You can't actually, under Amazon's BSA, sell your account to a non-affiliated person. So when I get these contracts,
personal things for me that I feel like I wouldn't
Yeah,
want
like
to
you
do
want your
that, 'cause
movies.
I've heard
Yeah,
like,
you might want your movies, your sales history, maybe your purchase, who knows? But
yeah.
no, literally, when we had that question came up, like somebody had like a huge video library on Amazon. They're like, do I get to keep it? I'm like, no, but they're paying you quite a few $1 million, so maybe just go buy that again.
You'll probably write them all, pay somebody to write those all down and then go get them again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, what do you want to do? We're not gonna, like, could we theoretically see if Amazon would split it? I'm like, I think the buyer would kill you if you did that on the day before close. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the buyer would scream. But the reality is, yeah, it's not actually sanctioned. That's not the way Amazon actually wants you to do it. And I think only one aggregator does this right now, which I actually think is for me, it's like less heartache, is they want you to actually transfer through brand registry ownership of the listings, if you will. So in other words,
that actually makes the most sense to me, because it does actually give you the authority and the right, without all the nonsense in the history, the background of that account.
Right. Open a brand new account, and then you filed your assignment with the USPTO, and then you just register. Once the assignment goes through, you register your new account but it doesn't have the IPI score. I mean, it's like, if you're a professional Amazon seller and you don't know how to get your IPI score up, I don't know what to do. You can sell on the other account, but the other thing is, like, this is the only way to transfer the inventory in FBA. That's the argument, right? Like,
the IPI score for an individual product or set of products, that shouldn't stop anyone from a new account, because you're stuck for 2 months, and then you can only send this much in, and then Amazon's be like, well, I want you to send 400 more in.
Right. Or like,
okay, no problem.
Right. Exactly. You just sell something else on it. What they should do is create a daisy chain of accounts. So like once an account is on one, then move it to another account. And they have, there's smarter ways to handle it. But unfortunately, the other issue is then the inventory. So let's say you have, 1,000 units in an FBA warehouse. Well, how do you transfer it to that person? Right. Other than you have to recall it, right? And then you put the new account label on it and you send it back in. So there's a cost there. It's not a huge cost. Like I said, one of the aggregators does this and they do a great job, and it's pretty smooth. And then, now in the world of, IPI confusion, you can also just, if you have a 3PL or a prep set, just have them start shipping directly to that. But you believe it or not, most of the aggregators just want your account. Now, I've heard at Thrasio in that clubhouse, I actually asked a question about that. Why do you do that? It's a violation of it could come down on you. It can come down on our clients, because you're trying to ask our clients to indemnify you if anything goes wrong with the account, which is one of the reasons why you need a lawyer that knows Amazon to rep you, because I would never let my client sign anything that says that you're indemnifying me for whatever Amazon does to me.
Anything. Yeah, I'm not indemnifying you for anything.
Like Amazon shuts down my account, you owe me the purchase price back.
I'm selling this to you as is.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we push for, right? Exactly. And it's like they that's the funny thing. It's like you're asking me to violate the BSA. You're asking me to represent that and basically make a promise that I have Amazon's permission to violate the BSA. Otherwise, you wouldn't be violating the BSA. And then you want me to indemnify, to basically, you want to have a claim against me if the account gets suspended in however much time. It's crazy, the nonsense that we see in these contracts. So it's a fun, but that's our job. I mean, the starting point with every deal, I always say, it's like, you guarantee me a sure thing, and if anything happens, you're going to pay me my money back and maybe more, right? That's their starting offer, right? People think it ends with the letter of intent where you see how much they're going to pay you. I'm like, guys, that's just when that's when we start.
That's just openings. Ante up.
Yeah, the negotiation is really about who's taking what risk, and so it's our job to push that risk, not necessarily to the middle, but what we say is in line with what market, what should the market says is appropriate. And we have ABA publishes deal books we can look at and see, like, oh, okay, this is, how much indemnity should you take? Is 10% inappropriate indemnities at 15%? For how long should it be? The Delaware statute of limitations is 20 years. So like, if you just say statute of limitations, and your lawyer doesn't know that, you'd be in for 20 years, you're gonna be looking around your shoulder. And people are like, well, they don't realize, like, if these companies go belly up, if something goes wrong, if things change, like, it may not be, like people love to say this to me. They say, well, Thrasio or whomever would never sue me because they don't want to look bad, because then nobody would sell to them. I said, well, if the statute of limitation is 20 years because your lawyer doesn't know, like, you don't have a lawyer. Guess what? If things happen, and forget Thrasio, there's 99 other ones that are not Thrasio. I'm like, if investors start losing money, or if this company goes bankruptcy and there's a trustee, they're going to look through every piece of paper, every contract, and they're going to look for all the money they can get. And if they see a path to get you to indemnify them 15 years later, they're going to do it. Personal liability. That's the other thing they want. Personal liability. Yeah. So it's like eliminating your LLC. It's like, you know, it's like all the reasons you have a limited liability.
All the reasons I have an LLC are going to be negated. But and I think it's safe to say that this is for anybody who's built a brand at whatever level or however they approached it, build it to sell it or build it because they wanted to have a stream of income. You don't just let that go. I mean, like, to me, it's like immediately I need a lawyer. And the next question is, who am I going to get to be my lawyer? Because we're not talking, $10,000. We're probably talking these brand deals are $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, $5 million.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, we've done. I've had deals of, I've had 100 million, which is not the norm, but the last one we closed was like 6 or 7, I think. It was, and they're not nothing. They're real. It's real dollars. I got one on the verge.
How do they value them? Like, how does the valuation work? Like, do they do the valuation and you have to take it, or can you counter their valuation?
Yes. Yeah. It's a negotiation that we don't really get too involved in. We kind of coach our clients through it because what we have is data. We have data because we see a lot of deals, and we have a lot of clients. Like, it's a very busy practice for us, which I love, and it's fun. But we have a lot of data, so I can tell you what's trending. But sometimes they use a broker, which brokers are fine. There's a need for a broker, but sometimes there's, it depends. It's like the argument I get with the brokers is like, well, why do I have to pay this person like 10 or 15% of my purchase price if like they just want me to email them? And so I have some clients who just, they don't want a broker, but they need a little bit of help, like just get your numbers presentable, get a nice teaser sheet together and a couple of facts about your company in a book. And, we can help with that. But it's not really our role to negotiate. I mean, I guess we could, but the way we're seeing it right now is like, like we're typically, seeing like it's not about your sales. Here's the other thing I want to make sure that people are clear on. Like, don't just go pump up your PPC and get a bunch of sales. That's actually the worst thing you can do. In fact, you want to have your PPC under control because it's all about profit. It's all about what we call seller discretionary earnings, or SDE, right? Which is basically like it's your profit, right? Like how you would calculate a P&L. But we get to add stuff back. So, you know what? Did you take a deduction for your car? Like, did you buy a $70,000 truck because you can depreciate it in the first year? Well, guess what? They don't want your truck, so you get to add that back. Yay! Right. Did you do you rent an office? Okay. Add that back. Do you have 38
if you did a big video, you did a big investment in the video for the product that might have cost $2,000 in year one.
That's a launch cost. It's done. It's absorbed.
That's gone.
Yeah, one time. Right. You have 38 VAs, right? Well, they already know how to run your Amazon listings. You don't need 30. 38 VAs are doing product research for future products. They're not buying your future products.
Right.
Gone. So we go through a calculation of what we call we get to this seller discretionary. So you can see sometimes like literally like a 50% bump when you start adding those things back in your earnings.
It's funny, when I was doing the math, I was like saying it is selling for this much, Amazon takes this much, say for FBA and their referral fee. It costs me this much to have it made. It costs me some amount of, some nominal amount of storage, and we're trying to send it into Amazon just in time. So it's pretty light. There's X dollars for inbound shipping, and there's Y dollars for advertising. Done. That's my profit calculation.
That's and really that's what we're looking at, right? And then maybe insurance, which is like a couple, for resellers, like $1,200, $1,500 a year, but for brand owners, it can be, but for brand owners, it can be a few thousand. It's not material. It's not going to make a huge difference. But yeah, people don't make those. I was on a podcast or something, a Clubhouse with somebody, and they said, you need to switch your whole accounting to accrual and do it this way. I'm like, and stop taking all those deductions and watch your expenses. I'm like, no, we still maximize our tax deductions. Like, don't stop taking deductions. Like, because you want to sell your business, we just do adjustments after the fact to show the
guy who's buying the deal would love to say it's not worth this much because of this and that and that and this, but
yeah, because you bought a 2-ton truck or whatever, your deal's worth, now $300,000 less because you bought a 2-ton truck last year. Like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Or,
So let's talk about that. What is the multiple?
so if you're under $1 million, right, right now, I would say,
well, under $1 million annual
in profit, seller discretionary
okay.
earnings, that number we were talking about, the number you calculated better than just
$1 million in 1 year. Yeah.
If you're under that number, I would say the multiples range from as low as 2 if you're really like, if you're doing like $80,000 a year profit, but but typically, if you're doing a couple $100,000 a year, you're in that sort of like somewhere between 2.75 to 3.5. 3.5 seems to be, from my perspective, the cap on most deals under $1 million of profit. That's 3.5. I have seen deals for more than $1 million sell for under 3, for like 3.5, 3.75. I've seen deals for under $1 million go for more than that, but there's reasons, there's moats, there's something, brand identity. Like there's certain elements that you can sometimes get above and beyond, but for the majority of deals, and actually I think Empire Flippers just put out a report, and I was actually I was shocked to see the multiples that they were posting. I thought they were really low, but I also have to consider the volume of deals. Like they may, typically the deals that come across our desk are many millions of dollars, but like we do deals like regularly that are under $1 million, many millions, but like, we don't get many deals that are like people earning, 45, 50, 60, they probably do, they can, so if they're including all that data together and averaging it out, I imagine that's probably bringing their multiple average down. But, some of their above $1 million multiples seem low, because for me, if you're above $1 million, that to me, your starting point is 4x. That's with an aggregator. That's with an aggregator. Now, if you're above $1 million and you've got something really cool and you've got patents and you've got, a real, what we call strategic opportunity where like, like Dollar Shave Club selling to Unilever, like that's not, you don't go to an aggregator for that, right? If you've got 50% of your business on a website like Shopify, the aggregator probably won't even want you because it doesn't, remember we talked about that, the assembly line manufacturer.
Yeah, I was thinking they were doing something else with it, but they're just really fine. They're just taking the car in the shop and fine tuning all the things that you're doing pretty good and doing them really well, and just leaving it on Amazon.
And then investing a bunch of money in inventory, right? They're just going to buy. They're going to they're going to buy much more. They're going to spend much more money on inventory so that they have way more stock than you do, and just really.
So they want to go, they don't even care. So they're probably not going back and since they'll buy anything, they're not worried about your source is your source, wherever that's coming from. If it's coming from, a US-based company, or it's coming from India, or it's coming, they want the source and all that stuff to get the product made. And
and sometimes they want the source just for as a holdover. Sometimes they want the source, and then, which is why you got to be careful about how you communicate with the source, because like, I worry about when the sources in China might say, because some of these aggregators are built some of the more to be like, they have relationships. They may want to have their own sourcing, manufacturing, so that they may use your source and they may move on to somebody else. You don't know, right? But they just need to know. They need to know that is, and I will tell you, it's a big mistake. Do not go to an aggregator and just give them everything. Like if you're going to reach out to an aggregator, and this is why I offer this sort of like pre-legal coaching. Like it's not, I hate the word coaching because it's not coaching, but just like pre-legal check. Like, and it's why I do free consultations for people who are just thinking about starting a business, because it's like, I just want you to know, like, don't like create a massive data sheet about your business and just hand it over to an aggregator, like unsolicited. That's a bad idea, because that aggregator may have just bought your biggest competitor. You just gave them a lot of, here's my PPC spend, here's your PPC spend, here's my people do that. And I had to tell them to stop. Like, no. Like, we need to know, like, we need an NDA. We need to know, we need to know what's going on. We need to know, did you acquire a competitor? Are you in the space? Are you, there's things we should know, but it's like, don't just go and like, but people do that because they think, it's a little too easy because they're welcoming. They're like, hey, we want to talk to you about buying your business. But it's like, okay, but there's a way to approach it. With teasing them with a little bit of information that's really not that big a deal for them to know. And then if they're interested, that's like where I want to, and that's really where I want to be. Like, I just want to review the non-disclosure. I want to make sure it's actually a non-disclosure and non-use agreement. I want to make sure that it doesn't, expire in 2 years and there's no obligation to destroy the data, because sometimes like, oh, we can use it after 2 years. I'm like, no, you can't. So that's what we're like, that's always the caveat I put on that. But it's you got to be careful. Like, you just, be a little bit careful, because, they're starting to buy a lot of businesses. So, they may already own your competitors.
Yeah. Now,
you wouldn't know.
I know anything is possible in a deal and blah, 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 but what are you typically seeing? I've heard some harrowing things. I read an article, I don't know where it was, but basically like they're due an earnout, right? So we're going to give you, the deal is worth $1 million. We're going to give you 300,000 today, but we need you to stick around for a year. And then, assuming everything goes well and the product's still worth what it is today, then we'll give you the balance then. And then right at the balance, they tank the, right when it's time to pay the 700, they tank the product somehow, or they get it, so that they can drive valuation temporarily down. I mean, the extent of evil always surprises me. I've never
knows no bounds, and you're
I grew up
absolutely
in
right.
New Jersey, so I have like an evil alarm, and you're like, but yeah. So
you and me both. We see, that's the thing. You know what it is? It's like it's. I think what makes me a good lawyer is that I'm from New Jersey. That I grew up in New Jersey, because it's like I'm
like,
so
we're always very
suspect.
cynical. We're like, what are you trying to sell me?
Yeah, like I'm always thinking. Yeah, exactly. It's always like, what are you going to sell me? What's the real catch? How do you get them, right? That's how they get you. That's such a New Jersey thing. That's how they get you, right? It's like grandmother used to say, like, that's how they get you. You always want to know how they get you. And it's my job as a lawyer to tell you how they get you. And then, that's step one. So the risk, right? And then step two is, how can we mitigate that risk? And then step three is, okay, this is about as much mitigation as we can do. What do you want to do, client? Because I always tell clients that at the end of the day, you are in the driver's seat. Like, I will give you my point of view, but you drive the car. I'm not going to say, no, you can't go into this deal because I think it's too risky. I'm just telling you what the risks are, and I may be very strong worded about it, but it's still your decision, because you're like, I don't want to be, I can't be a decision maker. I can, it's like Godfather. I'm constantly there. It's like, but to your point, yes, there's sort of like three types of typical compensation, maybe four, that we see in a deal. There's the cash at close. And how's that cash paid, right? When is that cash paid? Cash at close. Well, some say, there's an aggregator out there that says we close deals in 45 days or something, right? Well, their definition of close is signing the document. They then turn your account over to a third party who will facilitate the transition, and it can take up to 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
So you haven't been paid a dime. They have control of your account. If they screw that up, pardon my language, and your account gets suspended, they have the right to walk away, and you got no money. People thought I was crazy, because I push for my clients to get paid. I try to do 100%, and we've been successful with that. It's getting harder to do that, but I push for payment before you touch that account. Before you lay a finger on that, do an account transfer, there needs to be some money in my client's pocket, non-refundable. That's what we push for. Okay. And we've successfully gotten our clients not 100% of the cash close. There's still deferred stuff, but at least that 100% cash close, so that, and we basically say, look, we'll give you the username, we'll give you the password, we'll give you the authenticator. We're all doing this on Zoom live in real time. And, but before you get a chance to change, anything. And as my client's watching, you're going to go and release that escrow. You're going to release that escrow. And just so people understand, payment to an escrow is not payment to you. I can pay something to an escrow and then just pull it back. All escrow proves is you have the money available. Doesn't make it mine, Right. So to your point, so that's that cash at close. And when you get paid, the cash at close is important. And how much are you getting, right? Are you going to get 50% at close, 70%? 80%? For me, anything less than 80%, I think is ridiculous. Anything less than 80%, unless it's a really crazy deal, it's the biggest multiple I've ever seen, where it's like their version of 70% is really like any other offers, 90%. That's a different story. But but I always tell my clients, you got to be happy with that, because here's the rest of the comp. You've got your earnouts, which is, you getting paid over a deferred payment over a period of time. It could be monthly well, with an earnout, it's usually after a year or 2 years, hitting certain metrics. Like, you've got to hit certain sales metrics. There can be a seller note, which is basically
which you have no control over, right? Because it's not in your hands anymore.
Right. On the earn out, yeah, you have no control. Right. And
So
and
when
they
I'm
can
looking
tank
at
the earn
it,
out. Yeah.
given my finance background, I say, or 80% is what I'm getting, or 70%, whatever the number is. The other stuff is found money, because I got nothing. I got
Correct.
nothing to do with
I
that.
call it gravy personally, but I say
Yeah.
this to every new client who talks to me about like Leona. I'm like, every client comes to me with an LOI. I say, like, how do you feel about that number? If that number was all you ever got for your business, would you feel angry? Would you feel like because if you do, this is not a deal for you. Like, you shouldn't take
Right.
like the number you get at close is your number. And I would say that another way to look at this is like this: the money you get cash at close is worth $1. That's $1 because that's cash in your pocket today. They can't, you have subject to, but that's really $1. The earn out, maybe 30 cents on the dollar you could value that. So if somebody's saying they're giving you a multiple of 5, but 2 of that 5 is really earn out, I'm like, put a 30 cent, call it 30 cents on the dollar, because while today things might look up, if that company goes belly up and can't pay you, that's a problem. If that company has buyer's remorse, right? Or if they put unrealistic metrics, and then with the loans, the note, what they call the seller note,
Amazon decides that product's not allowed on there anymore,
right? Or their account transfer was invalid, and they want to punish. It's like, who knows, right? Yeah, right. And then you got seller notes, which are like loans, like it's basically like we'll pay you $100,000 on the over the course of a year, right? No, not tied to any metric. I'm like, okay, well maybe we can call that like 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, but it's still no guarantee. But so that's another way to look at it. Just do like a weighted, just you can't value $1 of cash at close. So while you can brag to your friends that you got a 5x multiple when everybody else is getting like 3.5, it's like, but if their 3.5 is 90% at close or 100% at close, they may actually have gotten a better deal than you, right? Because you're only getting 3 at close, and the other stuff ain't worth so much, right? Because it's uncertain. And like you said at the beginning, if you have a deferred payment, if they're going to promise you money in the future, but that's tied to performance metrics, we try to put in language in these deals all the time, say like, you can't tank the earn out. We say, best efforts, right? And they say, well, it can't be best efforts, but we can't deliberately tank the earn out for no other reason. Well, I'm like, well, you know what? If I needed another reason to tank an earn out, I'm sure I could come up with one, and who's going to litigate this?
Right. So it's good, and usually the people selling this, even though 2 million, they might get a $2 million, whatever, however split it is, they don't have like wherewithal to go sue a company that can spend $2 million.
Can I borrow your phone for a second?
So
they're really not doing anything interesting with it after they're buying it, other than amping it up on Amazon. They're just like going to be the Amazon owner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you buy the hype of Thrasio, they're selling that they're Procter & Gamble of the internet, basically. I mean, that's what they're going for. Like, if you buy into that, you buy into. I don't know. I make no judgment. It's not really my concern, nor is our client's concern that much beyond the earn out, beyond the period of 1 to 2 years. And as far as like what your involvement is, I mean, usually like a lot of times they just want you to be involved like 40 hours 6 months over 40 hours, 40 hours over 6 months, not 40 hours a week.
So you just ask a question like, when we source this, we're having trouble, like, how did you do it, or some questions like that.
It's like they basically just need you to hold down the fort for like a week or two while they get their systems up and running and get their control over it. But some of them go right to work on it. I mean, sometimes they go right to work and it's a question, but it's like literally the continuing requirements. And then there's the non-compete, which says you can't compete against them. Again, you got to look out for that, because if it says you can't compete against the company.
Explain that to me. So if I make a product, I don't know, I'm making, I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe I'm making office supplies. Like, I have a brand of office supplies and they're special folders or something like that. I sell them this brand. Now I'm, part of the reason I don't want to get rid of my account is because it's my factory, right? So now I'm going to go make a new brand. It's not going to be folders per se, but it's going to be maybe binders. I'm going to do binders now. Is that a non-compete?
Probably, because it's category, right? So
is it category? Well, I guess it depends.
I mean, like we negotiate it. Like I have a very frank conversation with my clients about like, what is your intention after this is done? Like, I've had clients say, well, I have these products that I had in my head. I'd like to continue to do them. Like, okay, so you're selling a women's multivitamin, but you want to go and move into a keto supplement. Like, we could carve that out. It's a negotiation, it's a discussion, right? you got to make sure that you're not competing, you know, that you're only dealing with the non-compete only applies to your category and specifically what, you know, or subcategory. I mean, it's all negotiable. The scope of the non-compete, it can be 2 to 5 years typically. But it just depends. It depends on, you know, what the buyer wants to do. And if the buyer, you know, buyer may say, yeah, I don't want you in keto either because you're kind of good at what you do. And if I buy a keto company, I don't want you out there. So I can eliminate you in that space. So it just depends. But usually most of our clients are pretty happy with the non-compete. It's not, you're not out of Amazon. Like, you're free to go. If you're in supplements and you want to go, you know, create a avocado slicer, you're free to do that. That's usually the case, you know. So it you know, because again, what do our clients typically want to do, right? To get paid, they want to take a little bit of it and start another brand. They want to do this again. They're like, this was a fun ride, right? It's scary the first time, right? But that actually was quite fun. I got like a lot of money out of it. So, you know, everybody's excited to jump back in. You know, they usually want to take a break, you know, take a few months off, just, and then, you know, talk about how awful it is to deal with Amazon. And it's so amazing not to have that on my back anymore and like have to deal with, you know, worry about Amazon nonstop. Like, it's amazing how many people don't want to be in this space and want to sell because of Amazon. They're so just like tired of Amazon. It's really funny. Like, I hear that a lot. Like, God, just not to have to deal with Amazon anymore. It feels like a dream. It's like working for a company that you've hated for like 5 years and you just finally get out, right? It's like,
yeah. Well, I feel like there are some days, and yesterday was one of them, that I remember the reason I left corporate. And yesterday was like, I feel like I'm at corporate again, and I'm now spending energy doing stuff that doesn't make me money. It's just nonsense work. But, you know, that's what I was doing at corporate. I'm like, I have to do these analysis that are jokes. I don't want to do them anymore. And I'm telling you what, you know, and I feel like with Amazon, a lot of times that's the same thing. It's like, I'm doing silly things that they made up that are meaningless.
That are nonsense.
And we're doing for the third time, you know, it's like, that's what's true.
So that's, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So it is, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Barbara. It's like, you know, the only thing you really have true control over is that money you get at the front end. And so that's really the message. It's like, everything else is like, it's great. I call it gravy. What did you call it? I forget, you said it was, what was your expression? I like that better.
Found money.
Found money. You should think of it as found money. You know, well, can't you make the deal better? Can't you make the contract better? Okay. I'm like, let's analyze this. Let's say you sell your company for, you know, $1.5 million, right? And they're going to pay you $300,000 of that over 2 years in various arrangements. Okay.
Right.
Well, the contract you sign, basically, the first thing they're going to do is, if they're any way unhappy with what they bought, if it doesn't perform to their metrics, right? If anything at all goes wrong, the first thing they're going to do is make a claim against the $300,000. That claim could be made up out of thin air, because what they're going to do is they're not going to sue you for that. They're just going to not pay it to you. Right? Because they have it in their hands. They have all the leverage. They're going to say,
in reality, their preference is to pay you as little as they can possibly get away with and still get the assets. And if it all works out, pay you some more.
Right, exactly. Pay you little. But I mean, it is a seller's market, so they are competing with each other now. So there's like there is a bidding war, so they can't just be completely good. But yeah, they want to push as much cash onto deferred payment as possible. And the reality is, look, I mean, if you're expecting $300,000, what are you going to do? You're going to sue them? I mean, do people have any idea what it would take to go through a lawsuit on discovery for something like that? You would risk hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if you lose, you're going to have to pay their hundreds of thousands of dollars. So who's going to risk, you know, $500,000 in legal fees to fight over $300,000 when you just got paid $1.5 million? Like it's. And that's what you have to explain to clients. It's like, you're not going to litigate this. So if you don't look at it as found money, then don't do the deal, right? Like, if that money is that important to you, then it should be being paid to you now. Go find a different buyer. Go back to the drawing board, try to grow sales, grow earnings, and then come back when you can get that whatever that number is in your head that you need to feel like you've achieved your goal. That's the number that really needs to be at close. Because if you're expecting, you know. And I'm not saying that to scare people, because earnouts do get paid, you know, not all the time, and they're always at risk, and you know, notes get paid, but you don't know, you know, and you can't say, well, we pay out earnout 90% of the time. Well, what product, you know, your product may be the one where they don't, maybe
or that's
you're selling,
when that's when they put. So somebody's asking, Dee's asking, I think I said your name right. I apologize if I didn't. What happens if you have, and he put
Trademark
up
boxes.
like trademark boxes or, and these are, trying to think, these are consolidations of
I
other
know what
people's brand.
yeah,
You
yeah,
do.
I deal with them all the time. I've just actually just had a trademark case on a box thing. It's interesting. Uh, the answer is this, because I do get a lot of people contacting me who are resellers, who are retail arbitrage,
Mhm.
you know, and wholesalers, and they're asking me like, well, how do I sell my business? And can I just go to an aggregator? And the answer in general is no. It doesn't mean you can't sell your business. It just can't means you can't go to like, I'm not 100% sure. Like maybe I'm 90% sure, 95%,
Mhm.
99. You know, Thrasio doesn't want your wholesale business. They want to own brands. But does that mean that there isn't a person in the world who wouldn't pay you money for your amazing wholesale relationships, for amazing, you know, contracts that you have that give you real security in your relationships, or, you know, absolutely, that does not mean that there isn't a person out there. You just need a broker. You need somebody to find you that
Okay.
person.
Mhm.
That person is probably not Thrasio. Probably not. I'm not going to say
Okay.
definitely, because I mean, you never know, they can change their mind. But if you listen to them, they don't even want your Shopify. They don't even want they don't even want, they want, their formula is they need to own the brand and run it through their formula. They don't want
Right.
to have to be reliant, because if they have to rely on another company to source from, it's not as interesting to them. That's the
Mhm.
message I've heard from the aggregators I've talked to across the board. They're just, that's not who the buy. But if you go to a company like Empire, and I have no affiliation with Empire, I'm not saying like
Mhm.
Empire Flipper is the place to go, but you know, like I know people who've sold their, you know, the resale wholesale business on those websites. So it can happen,
Okay.
and there are other brokers out there who can help you find that buyer. You're just not going to get the quick and easy exit as you will with owning an Amazon brand.
Mhm. That
You
makes
know, the
sense.
other, yeah. So it's like it's just different. It's just not what they're looking for, because it doesn't fit their formula. They need to be able to control everything so they can grow it.
But it is a great thing for someone like that. I mean, the one that he, or she, sorry, put up that example, it has 517 ratings, 14 answered questions. You know, the one I grabbed here, the rank is great. I mean, this is a moneymaker, and this would be a great, to put all this stuff together
See,
would
that
be
might be
a
interesting.
great
Yeah,
place.
yeah. Dan the Sausage Man, like, okay, but Dan the Sausage Man is the box, but then who's Dan's Quality Foods, the pretzel company?
Well, I can see there's all different. Some of them are Dan the Sausage Man's foods,
Right, like that's different. But you
and
know,
some
to
of
me,
them
like that's
aren't.
something that
Some of
like
them aren't, though.
if
Some
you
of
grow
them
that,
are
if you grow that
private branded.
to $1 million in earnings, you should probably
Hmm.
talk to a banker. Not even like you should probably talk to a real banker, because you might, you know what, this could be something that, you know, Harry and David, or you know, there could be a strategic out there that
Yes.
can land you a much better multiple. And there's
Hmm.
definitely a buyer out there in the world. There's
Yeah.
absolutely, that's a cool product. Look how cool that is. I want a damn, send one to me, please. I'm kidding, but I think it's cool. Like I love those.
But right, it's there's certain channels for different things.
Right.
Um,
I mean, how much and how
you can
hard
even
is it to,
sell your empty Amazon account just for all the, because it's old and it has all the gating stunts if you wanted to. I would
right. I
never
mean, if you
do
want, you
that,
won't
but
get much for it, but yeah, I mean, you'll get a lot. I mean, but you're not going to get, you know, the multiples that other folks. But you know, people ask me like, can I sell my retail arbitrage business? I'm like, well, I mean, I can buy a
or your
retail
retail
arbitrage.
arbitrage business.
I mean, I could buy it, or I could just go to TJ Maxx and start my own. Like, I don't really understand it, but like, if you told me you had, you know, employees on the ground in 48 states, scouring every TJ Maxx in America at 9 a.m. every day of the week, like that would be impressive. That would be
Yeah.
cool, you know, or some variation of that. You know, you know, your entire state of Pennsylvania, you've got a whole fleet of people armed with your gift cards, and you know, that actually sounds a little proprietary. Like that's, you've really taken it to
Right.
another level. But like, um, oh, that's so funny. Yeah, see, there are people who do that. Like, there may be something there. Will that buyer be Thrasio? No. Will that buyer be you know, Gojer or any of these boosted? No. It's just there's a different buyer for it. This thing
Just
though, this box though is interesting. I don't know. I mean, this could actually be interesting to an aggregator if the numbers are good. Like if the numbers are interesting, and it's just,
I think
I think
that, I mean, I'm only looking at one box and I'm assuming that there's,
that's a real brand. I mean, that's when I think bundling, I'm thinking like I don't know. There's so much going on in bundling right now where people just take a hodgepodge of stuff that they get, like,
Right, yeah.
from, and call it, and they'll put a brand on the
Throw
box.
it in a box, but
And it's
this
like,
this does have a
yeah,
number of products.
this is real. This is like Harry
I
and
think
David.
that's something this developed.
Yeah, this is
It does
legit.
make
This is
sense.
cool. Yeah, and then how good are your sourcing? Like, and you can, and the thing about this
But
brand is, like, if you don't like, who is this? Wisconsin cheddar. You go find another cheese supplier, whoever that brand is of the cheddar. If you don't like whoever's making that, I can't see who makes the
there's
brand of the.
Anna's peanuts. So if you don't like Anna's peanuts,
Yeah, you go get Mary's peanuts. Like, whatever, who cares, right? Like, you can switch it around. Like, it's not that dependent.
mhm,
But it's different than saying, like, I have an amazing relationship with, Nike, and I can get, and that's how I built my brand. I'm the best distributor of Nike products on Amazon. Like, I know it's a terrible example. That's not really a sellable. This is amazing. This is cool. This is Harry and
I
David.
think
You know what I
there's
mean?
three of the products are branded the box name, and the other five are not. So
Yeah.
it's a combination, but they could
Was
all be
this guy?
branded the box
Yeah.
name.
Was this guy on
So
Shark Tank? I feel like I've seen this guy before.
I
I've
don't
seen
know.
this brand before. I don't know. If this is your brand, if this is your brand, congratulations. That's beautiful. Good job.
Yeah.
That. Yeah, exactly. Brand box, but you really have to, like, a company like that's going to have really tight relationships with their suppliers to really
Yeah.
go to the effort of, like, they're going to have they're going to make sure they have supply that they can meet seasonal demand.
Right.
You have a business like that, I would think. Yeah. I mean, that has potential. That's attractive. I don't, again, would an aggregator buy it? I don't know, but there's plenty of people out there who would. Aggregators are.
Yeah, the aggregator might have a
Aggregators are.
hard time with all they don't probably have a sourcing compilation team,
Yeah,
right?
but at the end of the day, some might be interested in something like this. This is cool,
Mm.
but yeah, it's like, I don't know, but you know what? Is there a buyer out there? Yeah, you just might need a broker or an investment bank to help you find. So you got to pay a commission, such as life.
And to put a ribbon around it, anything can be sold. So we have a lot of exclusive arrangements with, like, my wholesale account versus another person's wholesale account might be worth a lot more because I have, it might not be worth as much as a private label brand, but because I have a lot of pre-existing exclusive arrangements. I mean, one company alone, we have 1,600 exclusives. So that might be something in and of itself. So everything there's
Maybe you bring the company to the deal. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's like, maybe you bring the company to the deal because you have you're smart. You took the listings. They can't, if they want to go on Amazon, start from scratch. That's gonna be hard for them. But you got the list.
right,
I mean,
right.
or maybe the fact is, are the exclusives transferable to subsequent buyers? The things you can negotiate, but exclusives are different.
Mhm.
I don't. Again, some aggregators, especially the newer ones that are just trying to figure it all out right now, and there's a lot of them, may not
Mhm.
have the stomach for something that may be all in. Maybe there's an aggregator that's looking just for that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's like
But
this
the
can all
broker would
change.
find somebody. There's probably somebody out
The
there looking
broker,
to
yeah,
buy a
no,
business and they
yeah.
want it to be, it has to fit these parameters, and they're probably pretty lenient. So yeah.
Yeah, and they have networks where they reach a whole host. They're people who want to, quit their job and get into Amazon. Don't really care if they're a brand owner. Just want to get into it. They're people who, just traditional people who buy a business, right? Like, I could buy a liquor store. I could buy your business. Like, I mean, I was just looking for a business. Like, they have whole listing services for that are useful when you have something that's not a private label business. And Empire Flippers, FBA Flippers, plenty of people have sold their businesses in wholesale,
Mhm.
resale. It's just not what this recent trend in selling your business is
Yeah, I think
driving.
this is very the aggregators want something very contained.
Exactly, because they got to put it through their formula and they got to have control.
Yeah.
And if they don't have enough control, it may not be worth. Why invest that much effort into a brand, right? And that's the thing I'm hearing a lot too from them. It's like, as they get more money and they get more investors, and they're buying bigger brands, they're buying bigger companies, because they're like, it takes us the same amount of work to do this to
Right.
a company making $500,000 a year. It doesn't take a company to make $5 million. It's the same work. It's just it's scale. It's just scale. And so they're looking for different things. So if they're going to invest the time and effort, they want to have that control. So, yeah,
Right.
so it's an interesting market. It's fun. So yeah, no, if you have a private label, if you know somebody who has a private label, or you have one and you want to talk to me, my email address, Paul at ecom.law. You can see the ecom.law up at the top there. Just add Paul and the @ symbol to that. And I don't normally like to do free consultations, because if we did, we would never, we'd have no time, right? People ask us all the time, like, it's just the way it is when you're in the Amazon service business, and there's so many people out there who but we have to be fair to the clients who do pay us, but with M&A, I'm a little bit more liberal. I realize it is such a big decision that, I will talk to anybody who is, if you're interested in selling,
point them in the right direction. You don't have to.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not a ton of time. You just talk, and then maybe they need a broker. Maybe they need to get their financials done right. Maybe they need, they should go talk to Chakra. Like, you should definitely talk to Chakra. Like, get your numbers done. Having good numbers before you go into anything is really important. There was a story where, somebody got an offer and it was great and it looked all good. And I took a look at it, and, turned out that offer that the buyer made was off by $1 million, whoops. Numbers numbers being done right would help with that. So it's like, it's important.
Zero.
Yeah, it was a little bit more. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, it just was what it was,
Intentionally, by accident.
I don't want to say that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. I have an accounting degree, and I figured it out. But maybe they didn't. Maybe those people didn't have an accounting degree. I don't know. But
maybe they're doing so much that really was just a total oops.
Could have been. I don't know. I mean, but the buyer that the person we ultimately went to was great, and treated her well, and then that was the happy end. A very happy ending from that. So that's all I want to say. So
we're at the hour, but I want to share Seller Basics with everybody, because I think that's something that will be of interest.
Yeah, Seller Basics is really cool. So check out sellerbasics.com, just as it sounds, SELLERBASICS.com. I know I was gonna mess up the spelling because I was on the spot. It's a really cool program. It's $99 a month, and it's what it is. It's like a legal plan. It's not our law firm. It's a legal plan. It is like some people, you might get this at work, right? You get, you pay for a legal plan. You need a will. You get a free will or discount will, or you get a traffic ticket. They help you with a traffic ticket. And that's kind of what we built the model on. And the reason why we built this is it sort of comes with two things that people like. One is that anytime you need to talk to one of the lawyers in Seller Basics, which is, me, Jeff, and we have a network of other people that we work with. So we kind of quarterback for that, like, oh, you really need to talk to this person over here. It's a free consultation. So it's a 15-20-minute consultation on any topic, whether it's a scary letter that you got, whether it's whether I should be an LLC, whether I should still be an LLC, whether it's I'm thinking about, trademarking this or patenting that. Like, I just want to talk to somebody, like, what should I do? I'm starting a new brand. Here's what it's called. What do you think? Like, you have a lawyer on call, you schedule a consultation. If it's not urgent, you just go through our little scheduler, you schedule. If it's urgent, we obviously get right back to you. You just let us know. And that's $99 a month. So it's a lawyer on call for $99 a month. Lawyers who are focused on Amazon, who know what you're dealing with, who know your issues, and are hyper-focused. That's the benefit, number one. The second benefit is we have a whole suspension practice built under it as well. My partner, Jeff, used to be I think, a multi-million-dollar seller on Amazon, prior to being a lawyer when he was in law school. He knows Amazon. He was in that MDS thing. So he's been dealing with Amazon suspensions for many, many years. He's helped many of our clients dealing with suspensions. We actually have someone now on our team who used to be in the seller performance team on Amazon. So they came from that background. And the way it works is this, and this was really inspired by, the price gouging. I think really highlighted this when we saw that, like, people were getting suspended for price gouging, and on Amazon, like, everybody was over the sort of April time, and they were getting charged like $5,000 because they were in a complete disarray. We were charging $750 at Seller Basics, but it gets better. Because if you're a member of Seller Basics for a year, we actually take the $750 away. You never pay for a suspended account assistance again, ever. It's included in the $99 a month, whatever it takes. And let me explain the logic of that. People say, A lot of people go out on their own. They do suspensions by themselves. They write their own stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They say your stuff is templated. You know what? We're not gonna deny that a lot of our stuff is templated. It is customized. But what we realize statistically is like not every suspension takes like 3 hours or 4 hours. In fact, there's a lot. Our templates are actually really well written. We still customize everything to the facts that we get. We got to make sure it makes sense and it's going to admit what we think, accomplish what we want to accomplish. But yeah, our starting point of these templates. Look, if we can get your stuff done, if you can get your stuff fixed in, with a template or with a well-written version of that, why are you paying $3,000, right?
Right.
But there are some times where that doesn't work, where we need to put hours of time in, right? There are varying degrees of complication. Where like, in a normal world, $5,000 would be justified. So what we basically did was we built like an insurance pool model. It's not insurance, but it's kind of like this model where we say, like, look, everybody pays $99 a month. After the first year, they're $750 wage. We're going to take the risk that, statistically, the majority of our clients will not need the 5-hour, 10-hour, appeal process, right? Without working nonstop on it and that type of thing. It happens from time to time, but that's our risk, not yours. So you're not going to get, now you need to appeal to Jeff Bezos. I don't know if that's still a thing anymore, but and that's my hourly rate. We're starting retainer on that is $5,000, which is what some people do. So we're really just trying to like just bring the suspension business back to like normal, like just normalize the prices, be realistic, stop taking advantage of people in their most vulnerable hour, right? Here's what it is. And that was the inspiration. So that's what's run through Seller Basics on the suspension side. The other thing, like if you get an IP claim, I think this is insane, by the way, but we've built some automation around this. We charge $149 to seek a retraction from our brand. And it's not just one letter. It's like many letters. It's phone calls, like whatever we can try. It doesn't work every time. It works quite well, though. We go after brands for whatever reason we can to get them to retract any IP claims. The idea being is you do that, you get an IP claim, we go after it. We do it before it becomes a problem, before you get 7. You don't want to be in a situation where we're now cleaning up 10 IP claims because the brands are filing those against you all day long. Like you want to do that over time because, one IP claim may not get you suspended, but, too many can, as we know. So we just try to go get those retractions and, we seek and work with the brand owners on your behalf. We charge $149 to our members for that service. And it's quite a lot of work, but we've automated enough to where we feel like that's where it should be. And that's been really popular. Like a lot of our members, at least initially came to us from retail arbitrage groups and really love the service and love what we do because we can go after those brands and help them adapt to the kind of, I'm not going to say it's complete BS, but I'm not a fan of this idea of you can't sell whatever you want on Amazon in terms of these brands, the restrictions.
Well, sometimes they just use it as a tool and they really haven't. They're not counterfeit. They're not IP infringing. They're totally legit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's one thing when it's used for the purpose it's used for, but it's been used excessively.
Yeah, like I mean, if you're selling, like if you sell a very like sensitive fish oil that can't be out in the hot Florida sun, you might have a legitimate reason for wanting to quality control that, and like control who sells that. Because if that, if some guy in Florida is stored in his garage at 300 degrees and it gets rancid and somebody gets sick, that can be a problem. That's a real trademark concern. I actually think that's sort of the spectrum we developed years ago. We use the presentations on this topic. But if you're selling Ernest Goes to Camp on DVD, get the hell out of here, right? Like what is your quality control trademark concern? It's Ernest Goes to Camp on DVD. The Ernest Goes to Camp trademark is not going to be impacted by the fact that I'm listing it on Amazon. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like those people. So there's a spectrum of like either you're selling Ernest Goes to Camp or you're selling a fish oil that can go rancid and everything in between. And so sometimes there is validity where the first sale doctrine you say may not, should maybe give way. But should the first sale doctrine give away to Ernest Goes to Camp? Right. So and then there's everything in between, Nike shoes and you've got the material difference. We all know that the law, you guys probably all heard it before and seen it with Voorhees letters or whomever, which we deal with all the time. You have yours? Yeah.
That's a rite of passage. You need to get suspended, get a Voorhees letter, an IP infringement, and suspected counterfeit. You have to get those 4 things. You've been an Amazon seller long enough.
Maybe we should do a shirt that says like, got a Voorhees letter, been suspended, have a brand, developed cynicism, check, Amazon
Yeah.
seller or something, you know, like, or like, you know, like,
exactly.
you know, like majorly, you know, massively overly cynical about life, like, you know, Amazon seller. You know, you check all those boxes and that's you've been through it. Yeah, no,
Some of the next prosper.
yeah. The problem is like the people, I think people are getting a little too fast and loose with the Voorhees letters and saying, oh, they never sue, they just send you threatening letters. No, they sue. I mean, I've had to deal with it. They will sue. It's not, people misunderstand. Voorhees is a law firm. They represent many clients. Some of our clients may sue. Some of them may understand it's probably not in their best interest to sue, right? Like it's not worthwhile, but some of Voorhees clients will sue. And so you can't just assume, and again, that's what our service is. You have $99 a month plans. Like, look, it costs you $99 a month to have, like, get on a call with us. Let's look at your letter together. Do we know how many of these letters have been going out? We see a lot of them. Yes, they've been sending these for the last 6 months. Nobody's been sued yet. You know, it's like, it's just get that information, have a conversation. What is our game plan if they do sue you? You know, like we're all you know, we're all spooled up and ready to go. You know, it's why I love the Seller Basics program. It's a cool way to create legal access for clients in that we were entering a market where many gurus were basically trying to convince people you don't need a lawyer, you don't need a lawyer for your LLC, because they wanted to justify their $5,000, you know, plans or $20,000, you know, look, I save you all these legal costs because I, the guru, told you what you need to do. And it's like, and it's terribly wrong. So it's like, we're trying, you know, I always say, like, there aren't that many lawyers in the Amazon space. I don't consider those lawyers who are my competitors. I consider LegalZoom my competitor. That's my biggest competitor and it's a dangerous one at that, because there's misinformation that goes around the idea that LegalZoom is useful for any Amazon seller. It is the worst thing. It is the worst thing, because you're not, you know, you think your limited liability company is limiting your liability because of LegalZoom. It may not be, you know, and actually very many reasons, like so we're trying to say, like, there are a lot of mistakes our clients made that could have been avoided if they had just known to call us at the time. You know, we weren't there at the time. Maybe I wasn't practicing that. We're trying to remedy that. We're trying to say, look, how much easier can we make it for you to say, you got a lawyer on the ready to talk to you before you make that big decision? Just give us a call. Ask us, you know, there you go. Right. And you're not even get charged for it. You get $99 about, that's it. You know, unlimited consultations, you know, we always reserve the right to cancel a member.
A great service. And I think if you are someone who's experienced even a few things happening on a regular basis, it's something to sign up for.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, you know, somebody on the ready, somebody knows you, somebody knows your cases, somebody knows your business, who's ready to just, you know, jump in and either offer their advice, offer their feedback, or, you know, come to your defense. Like whatever it is, like we're there. Maybe it's something that's even out of our wheelhouse, but, you know, it's sort of like the in-house counsel plans. Like, you know, do you know how to deal with lawyers and manage their costs and keep their costs? You know, like we can do that, right? Like you don't want to get you don't want to just go Google some lawyer, you know. It's like when people tell me, you know, your rate's too high. I'm like, well, what should my rate be? It should be $250 an hour. I'm like, I know lawyers at $250 an hour who can bill 10 times worse than the way I bill. I'm a pretty terrible biller. I don't like to bill because I don't have like the patience for just turning the clock on every time I write an email, right? I usually wait until big things when I start billing people, and I always say I'm very liberal in that way. Okay, you know, quick phone calls. You know,
we used to have when I had an internet startup, and she would say everything. I was like, did they teach you this in school, to repeat everything I say back to me twice?
To like make it longer? Yeah.
Yeah. So we go, you can hear, like, I hear ding, ding, like, why are our legal bills so high? I asked you one question.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, no, you took too long to answer me. That's a different problem, but yeah. So,
yeah, we don't even bill our clients for those calls in Seller Basics. That's the beauty. If you remember, we don't even like those quick calls. It's like you're not getting the thing, you know. And my policy is like, I don't do that. Like I typically, if I call a client, you know, but yeah, there are lawyers who can charge, you know, $200, whatever it is. But, you know, if they think about your case in the shower, you're going to get a bill about it, you know, and like, you're going to, you know, it's like, you know, I was trying to solve that issue, and you know, they won't say it's in the shower, but literally like that's.
Right. I was noodling it over.
Yeah,
Randy.
right. Pondering it, you know, it's like pondering it while I was watching Tiger King, you know, it's like, it's so ridiculous. So it's like, you know, it's what it is. So, you know, this is why people are afraid of lawyers. We understand that. We're trying to feel like we're here to help, and we, you know, look at our track record.
That reinstatement amount is just huge, because I know even the least expensive person I know charges way more than that. So
Yeah, it's like yeah, and again, it's just a model. It's like, and everyone says it's impossible. You can never. It's not. We've got some back end technology that's like making it really like efficient for us to manage these things. We've got really great organized people on the back end of Seller Basics that are really making sure things are running smoothly. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of what it's becoming, and the membership response has been unbelievably amazing. But we've made it efficient. We have bandwidth for more, and we want more people to join. I don't know when we have to turn it off, but and we love our members, and we love the program, and I love talking to people about what's going on in their business and helping them deal with it. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, that's right. You're disrupting the industry.
Yes. Yeah. In a way.
Yes. And he's a really good guy too. So
thank you.
If you can't tell that by now. All right. Well, we have to cut it off. I'm hoping we got everything that you were saying, because I know that the clock goes a certain amount of time. But I really appreciate you coming on. I want to have you come back to talk about some more topics in the future. And this has been, I have like 80 personal questions to ask you now, but
personal question. Okay. All right.
For my business, is like, okay, what if I did this and what if I did that? I just started to be thinking of so many different things. So, but thank you for your time, and it's been really, really good. So I think
thank you. It's always great to see you. I miss seeing you at the conferences. You were always on it. You always brighten my day. Whenever I show up at a conference, I'm like, yeah, there's more. I'm like.